Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we talk with Region 7 Administrator of the EPA, Meg McCollister. We'll talk about some of the goals they have and how they're reaching out to all the different stakeholders. We also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission, Kansas Department of Agriculture, and Kansas Grain Sorghum, plus the weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
In agricultural news, USDA released the World Ag Supply and Demand Report just a few days ago, and the January report shows U.S. corn outlook for reduced production, food, seed, and industrial use, feed and residual use, exports, and ending stocks. Corn production estimate, 13.73 billion bushels, down 200 million. Exports reduced by 150 million bushels to 1.925 billion. That reflects the slow pace of shipments through December and the lowest level of outstanding sales as early as January since the 2019-20 marketing year. The season average corn price received by producers unchanged, $6.70 a bushel. Soybean production estimated 4.276 billion bushels. That's down 69 million, led by reductions for places like Kansas and Missouri, Indiana, and Illinois. The soybean export forecast reduced 55 million bushels to 2 billion. The U.S. season average soybean price projected $14.20 a bushel, up 20 cents. Now, the outlook for this month calls for increased supplies, larger domestic use, unchanged exports, and lower ending stocks. The season average farm price unchanged at $9.10 a bushel. Well, from 2015 to 2021, the median total household income for commercial U.S. farms rose an estimated 16% to $278,339 from $238,994. Commercial farms earn more than $350,000 of gross cash farm income, regardless of the principal operator's occupation. USDA Economic Research Service reports that in 2021, the median total household income for commercial farms remained above the median income of $75,201 for all U.S. households. Farm households rely on a combination of on- and off-farm sources for their income. On-farm income determined by farm costs and returns that vary from year to year, and in any given year, a majority of farm households report negative farm income. Off-farm sources like wages, non-farm business earnings, dividends, and transfers are the main contributor to household income for most farm households. And because household operating commercial farms rely mostly on farm sources for income, they experience the largest shocks in household income when farm sector income rises or falls. And Cincinnati Bengal quarterback Joe Burrow and longtime NBA player Blake Griffin among some of the big-name athletes who are investing in farmland in Iowa. They've joined up with more than 20 other pro athletes from the NFL, NHL, and NBA, as well as Major League Baseball, to form an investment fund of about $5 million that was used to buy farmland in Iowa. Other athletes in the group include Kemba Walker, formerly the Dallas Mavericks, and Chris Middleton of the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. The group is buying the land and will lease it back to farmers who will work it and then give athletes a single-digit percentage annual return on their investment. Now, it is believed that the group will also be looking to buy at least 4 more properties, and they're looking at several watermelon farms in Oregon, and those offer a higher per-acre rent than those larger farms. We'll have more in a moment.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Commodity Classic has everything you need to help prepare for the next generation of farming. Take your farming operation to the next level and join us in Orlando March 9th through 11th, 2023. Learn more at commodityclassic.com.
We're joined now by Meg McCollister, who is the Region 7 Regional Director for the Environmental Protection Agency. So, Meg, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, we do this typically about every year. We get a chance to meet with the nation's farm broadcasters and get a chance to talk one-on-one with the EPA folks, and you're about as close to boots on the ground as we have. The region covers the state of Kansas. So,
It does.
let's talk about maybe some of those initiatives, some of those things, working with Administrator Regan and agriculture and how that's all working together.
Sure. So definitely with agriculture right now, we're really focused on partnerships, on collaboration, making sure that agriculture has a seat at the table when we're going through decision making. And as you said here, you know, as the regional administrator, we're in the region. We've got boots on the ground, right? So we have our ag advisor in Region 7, Doug Jones, who is also very engaged with people in the agriculture community, making sure that that the ag community knows what's going on at EPA, but that also as we're having conversations in our office, we know what's going on in the ag community. So making sure that we have that communication and that collaboration is really, really important.
So looking at building partnerships, almost coalitions, if you will, through all these different things, what's maybe one of the biggest misnomers that agriculture needs to know about EPA?
Oh gosh, I would say the biggest thing really is that we're all trying to protect the environment, right? Farmers and ranchers are the original stewards of the environment. So we really all have the same goals. I think that what we need to do is make sure that we're working together on climate smart solutions to make sure that we're protecting the environment, but also making sure that farmers have the tools that they need to be successful.
What about the relationship in dealing with livestock operations? Past administration, past administrators, maybe taking a deep dive, and maybe that's for another conversation, but that seems to still be one of the concerns. But it looks like there are some good working partnerships, like in Kansas, with their Department of Health and Environment.
Yes, definitely some good relationships there. I work with Leo Henning a lot, actually. It's great. We have regular meetings to make sure that we're not just on that issue, but on others, making sure that we know what's going on with each other so that, again, everyone is at the table. We're all involved in the same conversation.
Okay. We're talking with Meg McCollister, who heads up Region 7 of the Environmental Protection Agency. She's the regional director. We'll take a quick break, come back and talk more about the EPA and kind of their agenda, if you will, and some of the other things that they're working on. We'll do that in just a moment.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
And our guest is Meg McCollister, who is the regional administrator for Region 7 of the Environmental Protection Agency, and that based in kind of this area. Kansas City is the main office, but Kansas is where it covers, and so we've talked a little bit about some of those partnerships. Let's also talk maybe about the broader EPA agenda, if you will, or some of the projects that you want to make sure that the works in the administration is set forth.
Sure. So top level priorities for the agency right now. We've got infrastructure, where the bipartisan infrastructure law was passed last year. Climate change, we recently passed the Inflation Reduction Act, so focusing on climate. And of course, environmental justice, making sure that everyone has access to equal environmental protection.
Okay, so with all those, how has it worked so far, like this first year and a half in?
Well, we're still ramping up,
Okay.
right? Especially bipartisan infrastructure
Right.
law, which was passed a year ago, has been a huge focus, making sure that we're getting those funds out to communities. So a huge portion of it, $50 billion, billion with a B,
Right.
is investing in water infrastructure. So drinking water, stormwater, wastewater, and $43 billion of that is going through the state revolving loan funding.
Okay. Now, part of water, before we go into other things, when we're looking at continuing to review the waters of the U.S., and a big focus is the Midwest. And so, kind of where are we at there? Is it still? It seems to be it's a continuing work in progress, still getting input from all kinds of stakeholders.
Yes, absolutely. It is still a work in progress, but we did have roundtables this year. And we had actually one that was hosted in Kansas, making sure that everyone was at that table to make sure that we come up with something that is both durable, but also adaptable to the varied regions, of course, around the country.
Okay. What else?
Environmental justice.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, no, environmental justice, of course, even when we're talking about small rural communities. I mentioned water infrastructure. For example, nearly half of the communities in Region 7, and again, Kansas is within Region 7, nearly half of the communities in Region 7 have, with a water utility, have 400 or so people or less. And those populations are decreasing. What happens as the populations decrease? The cost goes up, right, for those utilities. So making sure that we're making those critical investments in that aging infrastructure so that we can help manage those costs for families.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's a website that folks can go to and get all the things that are working and relatable to Region 7.
Yes, absolutely. There's an EPA website, but there's also an EPA Region 7 specific website, and we talk about all of those priorities.
All right, very good, Meg. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Meg McCollister is Regional Administrator for the EPA Region 7, has joined us. We'll have more coming up in just a moment.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Margaret Gearing began serving the agricultural industry 54 years ago. She's impacted the future of agriculture by mentoring 4-H members, hosting farm tours, and was Harvey County Farm Bureau's first female president in 2014. Gearing has also provided livestock to small farmers in Mexico and educated them on care practices. Her passion for helping the next generation is evident through her volunteer efforts and humble service in her community. Congratulations, Margaret, and thanks for your tireless work.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Results from the 2022 Kansas Soybean Yield and Value Contests are in. Participation in these contests remains steady with 24 yield entries and 26 value entries despite a challenging growing season. One operation in Hiawatha won big this year. PowerCat Land Company was our 2022 yield champion, taking home first place in both the irrigated and dryland categories and even placed third in the statewide value contest. PowerCat Land Company's conventional till irrigated yield entry of Pioneer soybeans was the best in the contest at 98.82 bushels per acre. The conventional till dryland submission reached 94.96 bushels per acre to win Best Dryland. Lyle Longenecker of Abilene won the value contest with a premium of $1.74 over cash value on his Beck's hybrid soybeans, an increase of 37 cents over the top value in the 2021 contest. Other divisional winners include Love and Love Farms of Montezuma, top no-till irrigated entry at 96.49 bushels per acre, Henry Farms of Robinson, top north-northeast no-till dryland entry at 86.86 bushels per acre, Bigham Farms of Grantville, top northeast no-till dryland entry at 68.16 bushels per acre, Brandon Litch of Melbourne, top east central no-till dryland entry at 66.74 bushels per acre, Rod Watson of Weir, top southeast conventional till dryland entry at 61.32 bushels per acre, Ryan Stewart of Washington, top north central no-till dryland entry at 63.34 bushels per acre, Rod Stewart of Washington, top north central conventional till dryland entry at 61.09 bushels per acre, Aaron Pauley of Colwich, top south central conventional till dryland entry at 62.22 bushels per acre. These winners were recognized January 11th at the Kansas Soybean Expo. The Kansas Soybean Commission provided monetary awards to finalists. Be sure to visit www.kansassoybeans.org/contests for the full results.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Over the past 2 years, we've seen an increase in people's enthusiasm for locally sourced food as consumers are buying directly from growers, either at farmers markets or on farms. At the Kansas Department of Agriculture, part of our mission is to provide support and assistance to help make Kansas agriculture businesses more successful. With that mission in mind, we are partnering with K-State Research and Extension to offer 5 workshops as online lunch and learn sessions every day at noon from February 6th through February 10th. These workshops are designed to assist farmers market vendors and managers, and also for those wanting to sell food products directly to consumers. The workshops will focus on topics to help vendors understand more about the legal, safety, and financial parameters that are involved with selling food products either directly to the consumer or at a farmer's market. The week will be busy. On Monday, we'll talk about accepting EBT, SNAP, and double-up food bucks. Tuesday is focused on meat sales, including meat and poultry regulations and information from the Kansas Value-Added Meats Lab. Wednesday will cover Kansas sales tax, and Thursday will focus on food safety regulations and feature information from the Kansas Value-Added Foods Lab. We'll wrap up on Friday with important details about the Kansas Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. In addition, KDA's Weights and Measures program will offer free scale certification with a paid registration to an online workshop. If you sell directly to consumers, either on your own or through a farmer's market as a vendor or manager, we encourage you to sign up for one or more of these helpful workshops. The cost is only $5 per participant, and registration is now open. Find more information and register at www.fromthelandofkansas.com/fmworkshop.
Sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
I grow food-grade sorghum for all kinds of special uses, mainly for human consumption, so it's very important for me to be as sustainable as I possibly can and have the best grain I possibly can.
When people start talking about sustainability, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. To us, that means using the least amount of pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides that we can, using fertilizer as needed in the smallest amounts possible to grow the crops we want to grow. The food that we produce and the grain we produce, it goes a long ways and touches a lot of different people. So the better we can do that with the less impact on the environment, it's really better for everyone.
The big thing now is kind of the sustainability aspect of agriculture, but it's not a cookie cutter thing, because what I do, you go 20 miles from here and it's not going to work the same it's going to work here. The soil types are different, topography's different, even the climate's different enough. It's something you've just kind of got to have a general framework, develop and work towards the specifics for your particular operation.
So western Kansas, we sit on top of a large area of water, like a lake, a pool, deep down in the ground. And for generations and years, we've depended on that to water the crops with irrigation or sprinkler systems to make those crops that needed water flourish. However, over time, that has continued to go down. So we're having to think outside the box. How do we work without that water system? Sorghum's root system works really well in that, as well as being able to produce a crop even when we don't have the moisture we desperately need.
We want to leave this farm better than when we got here. It's important to us, and sorghum's a big part of that. It really helps us with winter and water erosion over the winter with the root structure it has, provides a lot of residue, also controls evaporation during the summer, and that the residue is really beneficial for the next crop.
If we couldn't be sustainable, we wouldn't be farmers today. So for us, sustainability is just really second nature. We are going to give the land the best that we can because we want the very best off of it. It's also the sustainability of our livelihood, of generational farming, the ones that have done it for years and know the best way to produce the best crops.
If I were to not have sorghum in my rotation, it would definitely flatten my production, my sustainability. Everything would just be flattened out. And sorghum, as well as it grows in western Kansas, I can't imagine taking it out of my rotation.
Sorghum literally checks all the boxes. If you want to be sustainable, it works there. If you want to grow in a dry climate, it works there. If you want to grow in a not so dry climate, it works there. So it's so versatile, and especially where it can put back in. We're trying to figure out how to cut back on inputs, and sorghum itself inputs into the ground where other crops just take from. For us in our rotation and many others, sorghum is the resource conserving crop.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Senator Roger Marshall, along with 10 of his colleagues, including Senator Jerry Moran and Representatives Tracy Mann, Jake LaTurner, and Ron Estes, sent a letter to the Secretary of the U.S. Department of the Interior requesting an extension to delay the final rule that will list the lesser prairie chicken under the Endangered Species Act. The letter suggested April 1st be the new deadline, which is before the primary nesting season of the bird. If this request is not granted, the rule will become effective January 24th, and 2 distinct population segments for the bird will be established with a listing status assigned to each. The northern area, covering southeastern Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and the northeast Texas Panhandle, will be listed as threatened and subject to a 4D rule, which will only provide exemptions for take associated with grazing practices that follow a management plan developed by an agency-approved third party. However, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has yet to identify any approved entities that would be able to certify grazing plans. The southern area, covering New Mexico and the southwest Texas Panhandle, will be listed as endangered. Incidental take in this area is not covered by the 4D exceptions. Although the members of Congress strongly urged the agency to revoke the listing altogether and focus on promoting voluntary conservation efforts, they stated in the letter that at a minimum it is necessary to delay the effective date to allow producers more time to comply.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Good day. I'm Derek Hermish with Pinion. If you waited until after the January crop report to sell some corn, you were paid off in the form of a friendly crop report surprise with a reduction in total harvested acres, creating a drop in projected carryout, even though our current marketing year export commitments are roughly half of last year for the same time frame. So now what do you do? I can honestly say I don't know. I confess I'm as unsure about what the price possibilities hold in store for this year as any year in recent memory. They say the older you get, the less you know. Meaning the older you get, the more you learn how much you don't know as compared to what you thought you knew. Even though I'm unsure of what the market is going to do this year, I find myself as confident as I've ever been in my approach and risk management plan for clients heading into this year. I'm guessing there are a few folks out there who share that sentiment and are feeling their oats after the last couple of years. High prices have a way of doing that. Be sure your confidence is not tied to thinking you know what the market is going to do, but in the actions you've taken thus far and your plan for what you are going to do when it doesn't go the way you expected. And if you'd like some help with that, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Derek Hermish. Have a good day.
That's our show this week. Be social with us online, kansasagreport.net, or our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on the Kansas Ag Report.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.